Additional aids and services are available to individuals with disabilities. To make such a request, please contact us by email, by clicking the Help tab in the PD portal, or at pdportal@tamu.edu, by phone, including Relay Texas at 1-800-441-7323, or in writing to Train PD, PD Portal Support, 4477 TAMU, College Station, Texas 77843. Both a transcript and accessible document of the content presented in this webinar can be found as resources in the course description. Click on the blue links under Course Resources in the description. When a link is clicked, a new browser window will open.
All right, so give a warm welcome to Mr. Oscar Melgar. He is currently an adult education and literacy instructor and a math adjunct professor for Victoria College in Victoria, Texas. So he teaches on the adult education side as well as the college side. He has a Bachelor's of Arts degree in mathematics and a Master of Science degree in learning technology and design. Oscar is pursuing a graduate level mathematics certificate at Texas Tech University. He has taught mathematics for 6 years and sincerely believes that everyone can do math with a healthy learning environment and proper resources. Oscar prides himself in hearing that his students feel more confident in their math skills.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. So today's Tech and Tell is Introducing Delta Math, a Modern Math Tool, Part 2. So the session objectives for today is to understand the instructor features and components, understand how to create classes and assignments, and then we'll talk about instructional strategies for using Delta Math in person and virtually. A couple of key takeaways. So by the end of this webinar, we'll understand how to use Delta Math effectively for both in-person and a hybrid setting, and understand how to create an assignment aligned to the Texas Adult Education and Literacy Mathematics Content Standards. What is Delta Math? So Delta Math is not a substitute for classroom instruction. It's not meant to teach the class for you or have videos that students can watch. However, it is a supplemental tool for your instruction. It can be a place where students and teachers can practice different math exercises. This part right here is really nice, especially because it can be for students, but it also can be for teachers, especially if you're teaching a new class. That practice can really be helpful. And for students, just to get to know the concept a little bit better and have that practice, because math is one of those subjects where the only way to really get better is to practice and notice those patterns as we do these exercises. Delta Math is a tool that can track student progress and identifies areas where students need additional support. That's the part where I think Delta Math stands out the most, where the data that it gives to the teachers about the students and their understanding. Just a friendly reminder that Delta Math does not require students to show work. However, have assigned assignments on Delta Math and asked students to turn in their work the following day, or even if it's an in-class assignment, turn in their work on a loose leaf sheet of paper. It really does give valuable information for the teachers. Some Delta Math features and components. A reminder, we're looking at the free version of Delta Math. They do have a paid option. It does allow you a little bit more features for connecting it to your learning management system. But with the free version, it'll be enough. It's a web-based app only. So there is no phone application where students can download from their phone. So it's just web-based. There's 9 different courses, all the way from 6th grade math to pre-calculus, calculus, even a little bit of computer science. It offers class management tools. My favorite is the random student caller. A lot of the times I always look for the students who I know are going to answer the question, but with the random student caller, it does allow for a better flow and just to get everybody involved. Creating and editing assignments and then student data. So at this time, I'm going to go to Delta Math and just explore those features so that way you can see it a little bit better. So this is what it looks like on Delta Math after you've created an account. It is connected with Google, so if you want to use your personal Gmail account, you can too. But this is what it's going to look like, and it's a lot, right? It's a lot. There's a lot of colors here. Notice you see the number 6, 7, and then here's just 8. So those are the grade levels. But if that's a lot for you, you can always go to the year here in the middle where it says 9 checked, and then uncheck all. And if there's a specific topic that you're looking for, maybe in algebra, you can go ahead and highlight that, and it'll give you all the algebra topics that they offer. If we click on one, you'll notice that there's several options in that topic. You can also search one of the topics decimals, and I'm just going to go ahead and check all. So we can see the different levels for decimals, starting with 6th grade math all the way to algebra. And that could be really well for differentiated instruction, where maybe you have a student that just needs a little bit more practice on some lower level math skills. You can come here and assign this for them personally. Delta Math is aligned to the Common Core standards. And what we can do is crosswalk the Common Core standards to our Texas Adult Education math standards. And we can go ahead and just pick specific standards that we see that we have to hit throughout the time that our students are with us. We can go ahead and look at these. And again, you can filter through grade level and subject. So if you're looking for 8th grade, you'll have all the standards for Common Core, but again, crosswalk with our Texas Adult Education math standard. So that is a pretty neat thing that this offers. Also offers calculators. For the GED, they'll be offered a scientific calculator that's already embedded into the exam. And this is somewhat similar, not exactly, but it does give them an idea of what some of these buttons will look like on their calculator that they can use. If you don't see a specific topic, you can go ahead and request a skill. If there's a topic that you can't find, all you have to do is just submit this skill request, and then somebody from the Delta Math team will respond to you through your email that you provided for your account. So that is pretty neat there. And again, this is on the top right corner. On this question mark here, you just drop down the menu, you hit skill request. If you ever do encounter a bug in the Delta Math system, you can also submit a bug report, and it does ping somebody from the Delta Math team who's on the back end to go ahead and take a look at it. There's a lot of other options to explore here. Like I said here, the plus integral is the paid option. Some of the tools that we'll look at today is manage students and classes, login/school information. There, I've had an experience where students forget their passwords. So on this page here, you can go ahead and even change the password for students, which can be pretty helpful. We'll look today at sample student pages. So we'll see what it looks like after you've created an assignment. You can see what it'll look like for students. And that's really helpful because I've come across times where I didn't put the dates correctly. So I look at the sample student page and it's like, where is the assignment that I just assigned? I go back and notice that the date isn't correct or the due date. Here is the random student caller that I mentioned where we can go ahead and use it for classroom management. We'll look at creating and editing assignments. You can also create test corrections. I've personally never used this function, but you can use this to create test corrections for any summative assessments. And then looking at student data for the grading analysis. So before showing you on Delta Math how to create and manage a class, I just want to go ahead and do an overview on how to create and manage a class. So Delta Math has made this process very simple, and all you have to do is just add a new class, then name your class, and you're done. And this is what it'll look like here. I have Math 1 AM, Math 1 PM, TAMU Math, Victoria College, and then here you can see this would allow you to edit the name of the class. Over here, number of students will tell you how many students are in your class. Once all students are in, or for whatever reason you want to go ahead and lock the class, you can, where nobody can go in. One thing about creating a class is how do students access that class? You see here, when you create a class, you're given a class code that is naturally made through the Delta Math website. And here, this code, you can share it with students. And when they create an account, or even if they already have an account, they can simply just click add a class, which I'll show you what it looks like on the sample student page, where students can go ahead and just input this class code, and it'll send them straight to your class and nobody else's class. You notice how unique these class codes are. So that's why it's important for them to have this exact class code, because it'll send them right to your class. You can archive a class as well once maybe the session is over. And if you do need to refer back to it, you can always go back to your archive list. If you do need to delete a class, you can do that as well. Right here, you'll notice that there is a button for view past terms / unarchived classes. And if you do need to add a class, you can do that as well. When it comes to an overview on how to create and edit an assignment, so creating and editing an assignment does not need to take long. All you need to do is create a title for your assignment, then click on skills, and you'll notice here where it says intro to ratios, it looks very similar to the homepage that I showed you of Delta Math, except each topic has a plus sign. You click on that plus sign and it'll add a class, it'll add a skill to the assignment. And this plus sign will turn red. It'll turn red with a minus sign if you want to take it out. You can go ahead and put a mixture of problems, so a mixture of skills. You can also put a mixture of timed problems or skills. We'll look at some skills that do have a little clock on it, and those are really nice to just get students to practice some of these skills that they need, such as their multiplication, their addition. They can do it in a certain amount of time, and then you'll put the due date. And you can also go back to this and you will see how to edit an assignment, and it'll look just like this when it comes to editing an assignment. The sample student page will look like this. Very simple, not a lot of buttons to look at or to press where students can get confused, or even teachers can get confused. It'll just have their instructor's name, the class name. It'll have any upcoming assignments, past due, and completed. And notice, if a student already has a Delta Math account and they need to add a class, they simply go to this blue plus sign where it says add new class, and then they can input the class code and they'll be at the class page for the session. It also provides students with an introduction video to Delta Math to just make them feel a little bit more comfortable about using this tool, or if they have any questions. Now let's go ahead and go to the website and see it in action. Let's start off by creating a class. We're going to go up here on the features, and we're going to go where it says tool, and I'm just going to click down, and it's the first option that says manage students and classes. Here, I can see all the classes that I have. You'll notice it looks very similar to what I showed you on screen. You can also see your students. Here, you'll have a list of your students. It'll tell you the classes they're in, because if you have multiple classes, you can even organize this through the classes. It'll have their first and last name, their email. Remember how I said you can go ahead and change their password just in case some students do forget their passwords? You can do that as well. Or if they accidentally wrote down the class code, right? I've had that before where I wrote down the class codes to all my classes on the board. And, I thought I'm just going to put the title right there. It happens where students accidentally write the wrong class code. So you can go in there and simply change them to a different class. So here, we're going to go ahead and add a new class. We're going to name it. Let's call it TAMU Math 2. Confirm add, right? We'll click this green button, confirm add, and that's it. You'll see it right here, TAMU Math 2. If you're like, you know what, I don't really like that name, I want to go ahead and change the name, you can too. It'll tell you the number of students when you don't want any more students to come in, or if you already have all your students, or if you decide, there's a period in which the class locks, you can do that as well. And notice the class code was automatically given for that specific class. If you ever need to send an email to students, you can just click and copy the registration link. And then once the class is over, you can go ahead and archive the class. When it comes to archiving the class, You can look here at past terms or unarchived classes. And now that we've created our class, let's go ahead and create an assignment. So we're going to go up here on our features, and where it says create/edit, we're going to click on that and then create standard assignment. That's where we're going to go to. And you'll notice if you're exploring Delta Math, it pulls up what you were looking at on the home page. So if you're like, oh, do I have to look for it all over again after I've looked for what I needed on my home page? It's automatically going to show exactly what you were looking at on your home page, which saves you the trouble of having to go through everything all over again. Let's do this. We're on 8th grade, so we'll just stay here, the number system. Let's look at converting fractions to decimals. So let's call this converting fractions and decimals. So we'll name the topic. You can select the class. I can go ahead and go down. I see all my classes. I can either check all if I want to go ahead and assign this to all the classes that I have. Maybe you have an AM and a PM class. They're aligned perfectly. Maybe you have different class periods that, again, they're aligned perfectly. Or if you just want to go ahead and just click one or two of them, you can too. And for the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to click our TAMU Math 2 class that we created so we can see what that looks like. You can choose to post immediately. Not right now. I really did appreciate this, right? Because if I was just preparing my class for the semester or for the session, and I really just wanted to just create all the assignments all at once, I can go ahead and pick the date and the time in which this assignment comes up. You click on the calendar and it has all the dates here. You can switch the time from AM to PM just by simply clicking on the AM and PM box. And then you have your time. And also let's go ahead and see what change defaults. This will give you the default settings for an assignment are how many questions do students need to do. If they're required to do 5 or complete 5 points, they can do that as well. Here, the penalty, if students get one question wrong, they get a point off. Or maybe if you can do more than that, or you can do less, or you can say, you know what, there's no penalty for this assignment. All I need you to do is 5 problems. Whether you get them right or wrong, you need to do 5 problems, or you can also get them back to 0 points. Because remember, this 5 doesn't mean 5 questions, it means 5 points in order to pass. If an assignment does require time, you can edit that as well. Delta Math, as we'll see on the student sample page, you can also show an example for students. They have that option. And that's really nice because if a student's wondering, how do I do this problem? And maybe they're working on it late at night where if they email you, you're probably not going to answer back. But with showing an example, you can have that just to see a little bit of a demo of what it would look like to solve a problem. How many attempts do students have per problem? Right? If they get it wrong the first time, they have a second attempt. Let's go ahead and add the skills. Notice, I'm going to go back and click Overview. And when I click Skills, the green plus sign comes along. Because that now means that I can add those skills to this assignment. Let's go ahead and take a look at one of these skills and see what they actually look like. So convert fractions to decimals. This is what the students are going to see. They'll see your name, convert fractions to decimals, the time, it does measure that as well. Now convert the fraction below into a decimal, edit the repeating and non-repeating parts of a decimal. Let's just put a random number here, 0.03. And we submit our answer and it says, are you sure you want to submit this as your answer? And you click yes or no. If we click yes, notice because we haven't put the attempts, it's not going to give an extra attempt because this is on the teacher's end. But notice, even if students get it right or wrong, they can see here the work that was used in order to solve this problem. And it's not just the numbers and so on. It's actually a complete sentence about how this process was done and how they got the answer. And it compares your solution to the answer. I'm going to go ahead and add this skill by simply just clicking this plus sign. Notice how many questions is required. 5 questions, so they're going to need to get 5 points. Are there any penalties? Show them an example, yes or no. how many attempts, and what's the weight of this skill. We can go ahead and add more. Let's go ahead and convert repeating decimals to fractions. And just in case you're wondering what that looks like, to convert the following repeating decimals to a fraction in the simplest form. So we'll go ahead and add that. And once we've picked out our skills, we can go ahead and assign our due date. You can go ahead and pick a date and time. You can add a late date. So if a student does not turn in the work by the date that you put, you can take off some points for the tardiness and choose a new date that students can turn this in for partial credit. So that's also nice to know that students can also get some partial credit on this, even if they don't turn it in on time. Let's go ahead and take a look. So after we've put our skills, put the due date, let's take that off for now and just create an assignment. So you'll notice the assignment was created successfully. Let's go ahead and take a look at what it would look like on a sample student page. So I'm up here on the features. I click on tools. I go down to this fourth option, sample student page. And it'll give me the list of classes that I have. So you'll see all these classes here. We just did one for TAMU Math 2. So we'll click on that. And this is what the student page would look like. Now, the due date that I chose was for future dates, but students can preview it as well so they can see what skills that they're going to be asked. Here, students can add a new class. If they need a graphing calculator or a scientific calculator, they'll be able to do that. Let's go ahead and click on this assignment. So this is what it's going to look like for students. They're going to have their score. They need to get 5 points. And if they miss one, they get 1 point off. But if they get it correct, they earn a point. You'll see that there's attempt 1 out of 2. So I'll tell them what their attempt is. And if a student's not knowing how to solve this problem, you can show them an example. They can click on show example, and that allows them to see just a different problem and how to solve that problem. Now it's different, but it's the same steps that they'll do. They can also click on next example and so forth. A lot of cool stuff that Delta Math offers. And this is pretty cool because you can see what the students will see when they're doing the assignments, what it would look like for them. So I'm going to go back now to the presentation and take a moment for any questions.
How many classes can an instructor create with the free version?
That's a great question. I wish I could tell you a definitive answer. However, in my experience, I've created multiple classes, though I could still create more. And in my time from when I started using this, I haven't had any issues of you've reached your limit. I have never received that message. One thing for sure, if you're worried about that, is maybe archiving a class, and that way it gives you space. But again, I haven't had an issue where there's a limit on how many classes there are. I do encourage exploring the different classes, clicking on some of the skills and seeing what that looks like, because it does give you an idea of what the students will see, and it gives you an idea of how you can go ahead and use it in a classroom. So an activity question: what is one way you can use Delta Math in an in-person small group activity?
Pair people up to work some problems together, then they can share how they solve them.
That's a great way to use it. Some of the ways that I've considered and even used Delta Math in in-person learning is for a do now or even a warm up, having a question from Delta Math on the screen. If I can already have it ready, or I can just go on Delta Math, and if I need just a warm up for the day, I can go and look up the specific skill that we're doing that day, or even a supplemental skill like greatest common factor for maybe factoring polynomials or even reducing fractions, and have that on the screen for a warm up to kind of get ready for what they're going to be learning. In a small group activity, put students together. And a lot of the times with Delta Math, remember, not every student will have the same question. And I think that's really nice because it allows students to come together and maybe they can help each other out. But when it's time to explain, they're explaining a whole different problem, not the same one. So it can have other students engaged. Maybe this person got a little bit of a tougher problem, or if it was different, that allows for the next point, the differentiated instruction. it definitely gives that opportunity. We can do examples during explicit group instruction. I've had the specific skill or topic, or even from the assignment that I assign, just so students can see and feel maybe more comfortable for when they do it on their own. They feel more comfortable of like, okay, I've seen this before. So I've had it on the screen and just done examples where we're trying to get better at a specific skill. Maybe one part that I can think of as after an assessment, after those standardized tests where there's a specific skill that students have missed. So I've used Delta Math to just hit that skill and get students more comfortable with it. Even reviewing before a formative or summative assessment. This can be really well for reviewing specific skills and just having students do a bunch of problems in order to get that practice. What is one way you think Delta Math can bridge the gap with online students? Having a hybrid class can be a little bit difficult. It's not intentional, but it's very easy to forget about the students who are online because you're focused on the people who are in front of you. So what's one way you think you can bridge that gap with your online students?
Immediate feedback to instructors, like where students are making mistakes.
Yes, absolutely. And the feedback that it gives, where you assign an assignment to a student and you can see the ones that they got wrong, the ones that they got right. And that feedback is nice. And even with my online learners, one way that I've done it where they've asked me for homework. So I've used Delta Math for homework. I've had students the next class say, hey, can you look at the question that I got wrong or the question that I stopped at? I just don't know how to solve it. And it'd be a great opportunity for even the in-person students to be exposed to Delta Math. And I've even had some of those students be like, hey, I want to join that too. I can see the questions that they got wrong and then just explain it, work it out. And even though Delta Math does do a great job in showing the work, students do appreciate that teacher explaining it and taking the time to do so.
Students can learn at different pace and the instructor comments can adjust the teaching way that's suitable for each student.
Yes, right. With the different questions, you'll notice that even on Delta Math, there's different levels. There's assignments that say level 1 and level 2, and you can assign an assignment from level 1 to a student who maybe just needs a little bit more of that foundational skill, and then an assignment for level 2 for students who already feel comfortable with that skill that does offer that instruction. Some of the ways that I've used Delta Math before were in breakout rooms where students can go into their specific breakout rooms and then they can go ahead and log into their Delta Math and just work with other students and collaborate with one another and say, hey, I have this problem. Let's go ahead and work it out. Or, hey, do you need help with that specific problem? They do their work together. They can collaborate and then come back and share some of the insights that they've had. Examples are in instruction, homework. A lot of my online students ask for homework. So this is really good because I've had a student say, hey, yeah, I was at the DMV the other day and I just decided to pull out my phone, log into Delta Math and practice that skill that I need in order to move on, whether it be the next class or even for their GED. You can also have students solve problems on a whiteboard. Zoom and a lot of these video chat tools have that function, and that helps improve critical thinking because they're actually having to write it out on the screen for their peers and the teacher. Just an overview about the filtering, where we can sort by standards, how we can crosswalk with the Common Core standards to our Texas Adult Education and Literacy Content Standards for math. This is an example of a crosswalking by standards. Here's an example of our Texas Adult Education Math Content Standard for geometry. So where we use right triangles relationship, including Pythagorean theorem. And I simply just went on Delta Math and went to the geometry section and looked for all the content that they have, all the skills that they have for Pythagorean theorem. One of those where we can construct and use drawing models and coordinate representation of a plane to solve problems with and without technology. You'll notice here we have coordinate distance Pythagorean. That is that number 3 of this standard. Use geometric concepts, including Pythagorean's theorem, to solve problems. You even have some trig word problems down here, Pythagorean theorem, rounding, Pythagorean theorem word problems. So those are there. And remember how I said we have different levels for students? That's there too. If they need a little bit more of the foundational skills, it's there as well. So you have that option that you can add to an assignment. And again, just crosswalk with our Texas Adult Education and Literacy math content standards. Name one way you will use Delta Math tool in your instructional practice.
My students want and need lots of problems to practice. It's been hard to find enough problems, so I'm going to use this to assign homework and work problems in class together.
Yes, that's awesome. You'll see how big of a difference it'll make for your students, for their homework, that extra practice, especially those students who really want it. That's why I appreciate adult education so much, because the people are self-motivated.
I would like to try this during class or in for more interactive options. I
Awesome.
want to pair them and use this tool so they can show how they get the answer rather than just right or wrong.
That's one of the main things that we can use Delta Math for. Have these questions and have students write down their work and then share how they got that. And Delta Math will tell them whether they're right or wrong, regardless. If they got the answer right, then they can probably just feel a little bit more confident coming up or speaking out to their peers and their teacher. So I do think that it also builds that confidence in math as well. If you're using it.
Can you show how to filter one more time? Maybe the home screen, level the different ways.
This is what the homepage will look like after you log into Delta Math. And if you already have an account, then great. If you don't, this is what it's going to look like. And it's a lot. Like, look at all these colors. I mean, it's all color coded. So if you like color coding things, this is great for you. But for me, first time, this was a lot. So I like to just uncheck all right here where it says year and click 9 checked and uncheck all, and then look for the specific skill. So depending on the grade level or even math content. So if it's geometry, we can just look at the geometry skills. Now, if you're looking for maybe more of a differentiated instruction, I believe one of the topics that were mentioned were evaluating. So evaluating expressions. So notice it already comes up, and we have here evaluating expressions with exponents, evaluating functions with fractions, and so forth. These are a little bit higher level. We also can just search fractions. That's a major topic as well. You can go ahead and click on them, and it gives you more options, just maybe a little bit more fraction operations. And this is how you can go ahead and filter through the search function or even the topic function. And one of the major ways for us here in the adult education world is by standards. And you can go and remember, Delta Math is aligned to the Common Core standards. However, you can crosswalk with our Texas Adult Education and Literacy content math standards. And again, you can just go by the course here in the middle and go from there as well. And it does take some time exploring, but it is pretty valuable once you can figure out where everything is at.
Thank you so much, Oscar.
We hope you enjoyed this pre-recorded webinar. After you have passed the final test with a score of 80% or greater and have received your certificate of completion, please take a few moments to complete the course evaluation. Participant feedback helps Train PD at TCAL continue to provide high-quality professional development. To leave a course feedback, please go to the completed portion of your transcript. To do this, hover over the My Learning tab and select View Your Transcript. Click on the drop-down arrow next to the word Active and select Completed. Then, click Evaluate in the drop-down menu next to the course you just completed. Please note that your feedback is greatly appreciated.